So much for coming and listening to my talk. First of all, this barcode scanner, if you want to watch these slides, these presentation slides on your own computer, laptop, you can scan it. All right, and I have this everywhere on the slide, so if you miss it this time, don't worry, you can see it in the next slide. All right. My name is Mariatta. I'm one of the Python core developer. I came here from Vancouver, Canada. And currently, my focus in the core Python is being a member of the Python documentation editorial board. And I'm a co-host of the podcast called PyPodcasts. And interestingly, if you all were in Philip's talk about data sets, we use data sets to analyze podcast data. We analyze how many women appeared in Python podcasts. And turns out there are maybe about 17% of all Python podcasts are women, and that we hosted this data using dataset. So if you want to learn more about our podcast, check it out, pypodcast.live. We actually had a new episode yesterday. I'm also a serial conference organizer. I think it's a brand new word I came up for naming myself. I've run conferences like PyCascades, PyCon US, and right now I'm helping out with PyLadiesCon. And professionally, I am a software engineer. I am currently self-employed. I started a consulting company focusing on doing Python development, so we're always looking for more clients to work with. But that's enough about me. I know you're all here about F-strings, so let's talk about this. This is actually my most favorite feature in Python. And if you're new to Python, this is great news because I know you will be using F-strings a lot as you write your Python code. It's everywhere. And if you've been using Python for a long time, I know you've probably been using F-strings since it came out in Python 3.6 in 2016, and that's great. But 2016 is a long time ago. There have been some improvements and new features added to F-strings, so let's make sure you all know about all of these new features. But I will start with the basics. What even is string formatting? So it's basically when you want to insert a custom variable in some predefined string or text. So for example, the use case is you're writing a Python script for automatically posting to social media about the conferences you attend. Maybe you have a set of predefined text each time, but the conference names are different. So in this case, you might have a variable for the conference names, and then you will have a different string that acts as a template where you can insert your variable, right? So in this case, you can have a string that starts with an F, and you can put in your variable in the curly braces, but make sure you put an F in front of it. And when you print this out, this string that has an F in front of it, it will combine the variable and the template. And that's just how F-strings works and how string formatting works in Python. So now you know what F-strings are. I think it's important to know the different terminologies of F-string. It's actually, there are more than one part of F-string. There are 3 parts of an F-string, and each of these have specific names. Well, the first part is the F. So without the F, there is no formatting whatsoever, and that was one of my common mistakes I made when I started using F-strings, forgetting to put the F in it, and then things got printed out with just curly braces, and then I started to just start all my strings with F. But nowadays, IDEs are smart enough. I found that the IDE I use, it would put in the F for me if it detected some curly braces and variables. So it's pretty cool. The exciting part of the F-string is the expression. This is where you get to stick in your variables inside those curly braces. And then the literals. These are everything outside of the curly braces. So I'll be using these terminologies like literals and expressions throughout this talk. Expressions. What can we put as expressions? In my earlier example, I was just combining a string with another string, so that's not very exciting, but there's more to it. F-string is not just about sticking a variable into curly braces, so you can do a lot of things. For example, you can access dictionary items inside the expression, and you also can have more than just one expressions within one F-string. This is an example. You can pass in objects into the expression. And this is the thing that I think is worth understanding. F-string will pick up the stir, the dunder stir method of the object. So there are two ways to represent an object. You can do stir or wrapper. So F-strings and prints, if you have both stir and wrapper defined for your object, it picks up the stir first. So something to think about, something to know about. You can call functions directly inside the expression. You don't need to first store it into some variable, just stick the whole function into the expression like that. Same thing with methods. You can call methods directly inside the expression. So in here, I'm calling the upper function inside from a string object, so it will uppercase my text. So you can pass in a lot of different things into the expression, and this is the exciting part. So some objects and some data types in Python has some superpower if you use it with F-strings. For example, it's the datetime object. When you work with datetime, sometimes you need to print it out in some human-readable data, like you want to print out the month, date, and year, right? So before there was F-strings, you would be calling the stirftime method. You pass in the, %b for the month or %d or something. So after F-string, you might think that, well, I'm just gonna stick that whole thing into the expression. That it works, but there's a better way to do this. So instead of calling the stirftime, okay, you still start with your variable there, and you put a colon, like 2 dots like that, colon, and the date format that you like. And that's all. It's simpler, and when I posted this on social media, it became the most viral social media post I ever posted. Like, people were shocked. What is this magic? There is no magic. So this is called the format specifier. In F-string, you can pass in format specifiers. It's called format specification, mini language. And you can read more about this in the documentation. I think the documentation might need some better discovery, but it's there. It's not magic. And it's not just datetime objects that you can do this with. You can use it to format numbers. So colon and number formatters. This is an example for formatting floats to just the 2 decimal numbers, so that 2f. You can format numbers using % values, so with the %. And you can use it with strings too, so there's a way to pad strings. Like basically this syntax, the greater sign and 30, it's putting 30 spaces before it's actually printing your string. So you can do a lot of this. Check out the format specification, mini language. This is the barcode that takes you to that documentation. Learn about it, use them in your F-strings. Now, next topic, debugging. I know we all, let's admit, we all debug our Python code with prints. That's fine. I do it. Everybody does it, so it's not a big deal. I do hope that you are also debug using interactive debugging like breakpoints, but sometimes you just have to print and log things out. So f-strings can help with this. So when you're printing for debugging, you don't want just the value that gets of the variable, right? You want to know which variable it is being printed. So maybe you do it something like this. You put in like variable is, and then the curly braces like this. Yes, this is an example. But there's a better way to do this with f-strings. There is something that is called, we call it the debug mode. Basically, all you need to do is put an equal sign into the expression, the variable name, and then it will expand the variable. Like it prints out the variable equals and then the value. So you don't need to type out a lot of different things. So use this, make use of this shorthand. You can actually do this starting Python 3.8. So it's been there for a long time. And so make sure you have a newer Python. And Python 3.8 is scheduled to be end of life, like no longer maintained next month. So I hope you are actually using Python newer than 3.8, okay? So why not upgrade all the way to Python 3.12? And there are a whole bunch of new features in f-strings, starting in Python 3.12. First of all, you can now reuse single and double quotes within f-strings. So before Python 3.12, if you start your f-string with double quotes, and then inside the expression, you need to use a different quote, like single quotes or something. It has to be a different style. But in Python 3.12, there's no problem with it. If you want to just keep using the same quotes throughout, keeping a consistent style, you can do this only in Python 3.12 and above. In Python 3.12, the error messages with f-strings is kind of cryptic. But this has been improved starting in Python 3.12. So this is an example of like the exact same code, and it has different error messages between Python 3.11 and Python 3.12. So it tells you more specific problem with it. So it can help you better when you debug your code. You can now have nested f-strings in Python 3.12. So this is an example. Basically, you can have another f-string inside the expression. Though I haven't used it myself, I haven't found the need to do this, but it's possible. So if you figure out, if you actually use it, figure out a use case for it, let me know. It's interesting. You can now have multi-line expressions inside f-strings, so the expressions can be multi-line. So before, you must end your expression like the closing brackets. It has to be on the same line. So like if you're debugging or you're testing, you press enter sooner before you close it. The interpreter will complain, saying like, you didn't close your f-string. But in Python 3.12, you can do this. You can break down your long expressions into different lines, maybe make it more readable, shorter, like each line's shorter, complying with, PAP 8. So 3.12, this is interesting. And this is also something we need to know about the next feature. It's related to that because now you can put comments inside your f-strings expressions. And this was not allowed before. So if you try to put like the hash, the pound symbol in the expression, the interpreter complained like you cannot have pound in there. But in Python 3.12, you can do this. You can document your variable this way if you want, or whatever, leave some comments. And this is the the thing to be pay attention about, it has to be done as a multi-line expression. So the closing bracket must go to the next line. And the reason is that in the expression, anything after the hash will be ignored, like it will just be treated as comments. Even if you have the closing bracket, the closing quotes, it's ignored. So it has to be done you need to close your expression on the next line. So what are you waiting for? Start using Python 3.12, get all of these cool, interesting features, lots of improvements for the same low price of free. Oh, by the way, there's one funny, interesting thing about F-string that I love so much. Maybe it's inappropriate, but you can totally uppercase the F in the F-string. But the thing is, it used to be okay, but nowadays the formatter like Black will automatically lowercase it for you, but Black doesn't format my presentation, so I use it in presentations. All right, that's all about F-strings, but I think I have some time, so I want to share something new that's being proposed with string processing in Python. And this is, like I put it, like coming soon maybe. Like we don't know what's gonna happen. This might not happen, or maybe it will happen. So this is still in draft PEP proposal stage. Basically, there's a new proposal for a new kind of string called tag strings. It's like a customized prefix for F strings, and this is PEP 750. Like this is an example that they give in the PEP. Basically, you can define a function, and then a function that can process the input. In this example, like this function, greet function, is just uppercasing the input. And the proposal is that being able to use that greet function as a prefix in the string. So instead of F, it calls greet, but without the braces. So it's like, it's not quite a function, but it works kind of like F strings. So it's like the greet function is the tag that's being referred to in the tag string. So this is being proposed, being actively discussed. I have mixed feelings about it, but if you have opinion, like if you really, really like it, or if you really, really don't like it, the time to voice your opinion is now, is not after it's decided by steering council and then suddenly you say, well, this is a bad idea. Okay, that's too late. Now is the time to say whether you support or you don't like it or not. If you want to read more about this PEP, go read PEP 750. That's the barcode that takes you there. If you want to share your opinion, there is a discourse forum about this. It's a long link. That's why I put it in the barcode like that. So that's it. So let's use more F strings, upgrade your Python to 3.12, and thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot. My name is Mariatta. Thank you for coming.
I have a lot of questions about multi-line strings. I saw that multi-line F strings are possible in 3.12. Is that also because we can do that same syntax without the F, or is that specific to F strings?
It's inside the F expression, the expression like inside the curly braces.
Okay, so if we want that sort of multi-line string with a single, with a double quotation mark, it's only possible when we're using F strings, not normal strings?
Sorry, maybe I didn't. Not sure which example you're referring to.
That one. Yeah, if we remove the F, does that work?
Without the F, it's just a string. Well, it needs to be triple quotes,
Okay,
right, for
that's
long.
that was what I was trying to figure out. Okay. Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that question.
Hi, I like that you mentioned that you forget the F and then you get the literal expression. And sometimes I include the F when I don't have a variable expression, and that creates a warning. And I wish I could just get the F out of there and just say every string is an F string. And I might have an expression, I might not, but just leave me alone and let me have this functionality. That would be my wish. But
There was a PEP for that all strings should just be an F string without the F. I think it was rejected, though, the idea. I don't know why, I forgot, but it was something that even the creator of F string, like Eric V. Smith, he wished all strings are F strings.
well, maybe it's for compatibility, but do you doubt that if Python were created, today without all the legacy stuff, that they would just build every string as an F string and you don't need an F?
I don't know.
Okay, academic question.
Yeah, sorry.
F strings were parsed as the tokenizer would tokenize the F string into a single token, and then the parser would be run over it, and then it would notice it's an F string, and then recursively re-invoke it once it gets to the curly braces, restarting with the tokenizer. How does this change in 3.12? Or
Yeah, it's now, I believe it is in the 3.12 that F string is part of the official, like the Python grammar, like they redo the whole thing.
Because I'm like, how does this work, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not the one implementing it, so maybe Pablo Galindo, I think he did the pack parser thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, sometimes I want to store my string template as a variable and use it later, maybe even store it in a database. Is there a way to just take a string and F-cast it, or do I have to use a dot format, which
Yeah, I
just doesn't
think
have any features?
I would use the dot format for that. Yeah.
That would be nice. That would be a nice feature.
Yeah, I was just curious about, are there any security concerns using f-strings? So whenever you have expressions into strings, that is always, it raises some security concerns. So is there anything that we should be careful with f-strings?
Sorry, I didn't catch it. It's your voice a bit low. Do you mind repeating the question?
Okay. Do you see any security concerns while using, or any issues that we should be careful while using f-strings? With great power comes great responsibility.
Security, oh, I'm not sure. Well, can't think of it right now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.